It is interesting. If you set the DVCC, the limit charge current in the Victron system, to 0, it actually starts discharging your battery, and there's almost no solar coming in. Yeah, that is a pretty stupid experiment, right? But this morning I wanted to stop charging the battery shelf here, because today we want to replace the aluminium bus bars in the middle shelf battery with copper bus bars, yeah, the usual tinned copper bus bars. And we also want to do some internal resistance measurement of these 3 battery banks and see why this one is actually charging slower during normal operation. Let me show you. Now, let me say hello. Welcome back to the off-grid garage here in sunny hot Australia. As per standard, the weather looks nice. Some clouds. 30. It is hot. Yeah, we've got no amps outside today because I'm not charging the battery at the moment. I have set the charge limit current in the Victron system to 0. And now while we are discharging, let's have a look how this looks like. So this is the top shelf battery, 304 ampere hours, negative 5 amps. Middle shelf battery, 280 ampere hours, negative 3. And the bottom shelf battery, negative 4. So you can already see the middle shelf battery is discharging less than the bottom shelf battery. So we should see most of the current coming from this one because it's the highest capacity battery and also the closest to the load and charger. Then this one should have a little bit less power or energy or current coming from, and the bottom battery should deliver the least current. And here, as you can see with these small currents, it is not. Alright, let's charge this battery. Let's set this one here to 100 amps. Tick. So we should now see the solar charge controllers ramping up again massively, and the current turns positive here into the battery, charging full blast almost. But now we are charging 80 amps into the battery, and let's have a look how this actually distributes across the batteries. Yeah, top shelf 30 amps, middle shelf 24, bottom shelf 29. Again, we can see this battery here actually charges slower than the other two. And I blame this one on the aluminium bus bars, which are sitting on aluminium terminals of the batteries, and there might be some oxidation in between over time, and we have an overall higher resistance for this battery because these batteries are all in parallel connected to this massive 1000 amp bus bar at the back. But it looks like this one has a higher resistance and therefore charges slower. Okay, for the sake of testing, let's charge unlimited and see what will happen. Oh, there's a cloud coming at the moment, which may be good. And the result of this higher resistance in this middle shelf battery is that we have a higher state of charge here while discharging the battery. Yeah? It is using less energy from this middle shelf battery. You can see here the top shelf 74% state of charge, and the bottom shelf battery 75%. Yeah, exactly as the top shelf. And this one just discharges slower. So long, 11 AM in the morning, we have only discharged this battery since last night. And we've got like 6-7% difference in state of charge already. So it creates a bit of an imbalance, which is not a problem at all. Due to the higher resistance, it also charges slower, yeah? What you can see right now here. But once we fully charge the battery and the voltage starts rising in the other two batteries, we will see an increase in current in this battery here, and it catches basically up. And eventually all 3 batteries will be on 55.2 volts. But there's also a second problem with this middle shelf battery here, and it is also related, I think, to the aluminium bus bars. And we had the aluminium bus bars installed pretty much since the beginning, so almost 3 years ago when we installed the battery shelf. And this was also a bit of a long-term test to see if there's actually a difference long-term with these aluminium bus bars in comparison to copper bus bars. And it shows us here clearly it is. All right, let's see. I think the sun is coming back. Yeah, I can see blue sky there. 35 amps, 24. Again, middle shelf battery, charges slower. Okay, the sun is coming back. 5.1 kilowatts plus 1.2 from the tilt system. Another cloud. All right, 13.3 kilowatt, 240 amps into the battery. So 84, 70, 82. Now this is probably the maximum I charge the batteries with, 80-90 amps, just for testing purposes of course. Here clear result, 88, 68, 85. This one should actually be right in the middle of these two batteries somewhere, but it is far lower, yeah, due to the higher resistance. And this is exactly what we have seen a lot of times when we do a battery testing here with parallel batteries. The middle shelf battery was always late to the party. Late discharging, late charging. So this is basically the situation since we installed the battery shelf. And there was never a problem with it. The middle shelf battery charges and discharges the same rate as all the other batteries. It is just later. Okay, set the charge limit again of say 100 amps for now. Because we want to turn off some of the batteries now to measure the internal resistance. And there's a cloud coming anyway, so. Okay, let's remove the plastic cover. Oh, there's another screw. Jeez. And we now isolate this battery at the top. The other two are still charging. And we are going directly at the terminals here of the circuit breaker. This is where our energy is coming in and going out. And this is basically what determines the internal resistance of this battery bank. So we take the output of the circuit breaker and measure from here, including the BMS, all the balancing functionality, the electronics, and all the bus bar connections, terminals, cables, smaller bus bars here, everything. All right, I think you can read the display here of the internal resistance tester. Got 53.52 volts. And we have an internal overall resistance of 10 millivolt, I would say, right? So let's measure this again. Yeah, it's pretty much 10 milliohms, including the BMS and all the connections. So, and here the middle shelf battery, it is already turned off, isolated. Measure positive and negative here. And we have 53.55 volts and an overall resistance of 11, 12, 13. Come on, be static. Of 11.3 milliohms. 11.5. For, let's say, 11.4 milliohms. Okay, this one on, bottom one off. All right, and here again, we're measuring 53.57 volts, and we've got an overall resistance, internal resistance of 9.2 milliohms. So this one has actually the lowest resistance of all three batteries here. Cool. 9.2 milliohms. Okay, there you have it. 10 milliohms in the top shelf, 11.4 milliohms in the middle shelf, and only 9.2 milliohms in the bottom shelf battery. That's a 14% increase in internal resistance in comparison to the top shelf. And here we have an 8% lower internal resistance in comparison to the top shelf battery. You wouldn't think this makes a big difference, but you can clearly see the result here. Yeah, and don't forget, the top shelf battery has a higher capacity, 304 ampere hours, so naturally this battery takes more amps anyway. Okay, let's take out the charge current limiter, charge full power as much as we can, and get these batteries to 55.2 volts, and then we will see how this battery actually behaves once we raise the voltage in these three parallel battery banks. Yeah, well, depending on the cloud situation outside, it may take 1 or 2 hours to fully charge the battery. But if we get some sunny sections in between, we will be there in half an hour. Very, very quickly. All right, you have a wonderful couple of seconds and then we see us again. Okay, and while we are waiting for the battery to fully charge, let's have a look what bus bar options we have to replace the aluminium ones. Lots of stuff in here. This is the aluminium bus bar we have installed right now. It's a 4mm by 20mm sized bus bar. And this one has actually a lower internal resistance as any of these copper bus bar due to the pure thickness of this bus bar here, right? But you can see we have done some testing with these bus bars in the past, and I've sanded this one down and we put different crease and and anti-oxidation creams in between. And honestly, the best result was always without any other chemicals on the contact area. Yeah, and these were the bus bars delivered like 3-4 years ago. They've got a huge oval shaped hole basically. So this actually allowed for the batteries to move a little bit and didn't put any strains on the terminals. And back then, a lot of cells were already bloated and a bit thicker when you got them. So the quality was far lower than today. And then they came up with these rectangle shaped bus bars, tint copper. Pretty nice actually. This is pretty much the same, just has a heat shrink over it. And then we had these flexible bus bars, which can actually bend and give you some flexibility if your cells are moving and you don't want to put any stress on the terminals. Well, we have eliminated this problem by spacing the cells actually by 3-4 millimeters apart. So I never compressed my cells here. And also interesting, look at the terminals. As you can see, the bus bar sits very flat on the terminal there, yeah? And we are not using any welded or studded terminals here. These ones were coming with flat terminals. And the supplier put an M6 thread in it, delivered a set screw, a washer and a flange nut. Yeah, back then everything was different. Far more complicated. Today it's so much easier. We've got welded studs, we put bus bars on top, flange nut, we are done. Yeah, and I think we will go with these ones here. This is what I have used for all the other batteries in the battery shelf as well. If I have enough of them, I will just use these ones. And as you can see, we also need to put a hole in there and thread this one with M3 for the balance cables, because they are connected directly to the bus bars. And these two bended bus bars here at the main positive and negative are actually copper already. And then we use the aluminium bus bars here for all the other cells. Pretty cool. Alright, let me figure out if I have enough of these ones here, and we drill some holes here, put some M3 threads in it, and then we should be ready to go. Just need to wait for the batteries to fully charge and see what's going on. So we are now at 54.4 volt charging voltage, and top battery 17 amps, middle shelf battery 18 amps, and the bottom shelf only 5.2 amps. So bottom shelf is already saturated almost at this voltage here. Lowest internal resistance, charges the fastest. Yeah, top one as well, even it has a higher capacity as the middle shelf, slowing down already, starts to saturate. And as the voltage rises now, we can see the current actually increasing in the middle shelf battery. Even it shows 100% state of charge already, but this is only what the BMS calculates during charging, adding up all these ampere hours coming in and then say, okay, I'm at 100% now. Let's have a look what's going on outside. I haven't seen the sun for a while here. Oh, it is actually pretty... Yeah, I'm just the unlucky person. Of course I am. Look at this shit. This is where the sun usually is now. Clouds, clouds, clouds. On the other side, blue sky. Battery testing with solar. And I said before, there is a second thing I want to show you. Look at the deviation of these batteries. Top battery 9 millivolt, middle shelf 30 millivolt, bottom shelf only 7 millivolt. This one has always the highest deviation as well. Yeah, at 55.2 volts, I sometimes can see between 50 and 70, sometimes 80 millivolt of deviation. And we are just starting to rise with the voltage here at 54.6 volts now. And you can see the deviation is already a lot higher than with the other batteries. Yeah, this BMS here on the top shelf, the Overkill JBD BMS, has only a passive balancer. I think it's 100 milliamps, 150 milliamps or something. And it is perfectly balanced, even at 55.2 volts. You will see this in a second. Bottom shelf battery here has a 0.6 amp active balancer, the JK BMS. The smallest 48 volt BMS you can buy with 100 amps continuous current. And this is the generation 1 JK BMS here, 200 amps. and 2 amp active balancer. And even the 2 amp active balancer cannot get this battery under control within the half an hour of absorption time I allow this battery to have. And I think the deviation is also related to the bus bars, to the increased resistance between bus bar and terminal of the batteries, but we will see. So, and we are now reaching 55 volts, but you can also see that the balancer has turned on in the middle shelf battery while the other 2 balancers are still off. We are only balancing if we are over 3.45 volts and over 10 millivolt deviation across these 16 cells. And this is what we have just here in the bottom shelf, 10 millivolt, but none of the cells is actually over 3.45. Now it turns on, and now the 0.6 amp balancer is actually working. 3.45 we have just reached, and we are balancing. But now we are hitting 55.2 volts, which is our maximum charge voltage for this battery. Look how quick the current is going down here on the top shelf battery at 55.2 volts. It is absorbing quickly. All right, enough with this testing now. Let's replace these bus bars here and get some work done. What color do we want? Red, green, yellow, purple, blue? Probably just white to work here on the battery. Alright, so we have to remove all the bus bars of this battery here. For this to happen, we have to obviously isolate the battery and also have to disconnect the BMS altogether. So pulling all the balance cables here, making sure there's no interconnection between the cells and the BMS anymore. And 2. Alright, so we are dead. We can remove the plastic cover. So before we get started, we have a look at the situation here. So aluminium bus bars across all the cells. We've got the balance cables in the middle. This is actually a longer one than the standard ones because it connects 2 rows together. And with the old batteries here, they had actually the terminals further to the middle, while the new ones, the LF280K or the MB30, 31, whatever you are using, the terminals are actually further to the outside of the cell. So that's why we need a longer bus bar here. I don't have one in copper actually, so I will leave the aluminium bus bar here for this connection in place. I'm not going to touch this one, but all the others need to go. And we will start with the most difficult ones there on the back. So, before we get started here, I have my, where are they? Here. Of course, here, safety goggles first. Yeah, always when working on batteries, wear some glasses. Alright, so I'm taking this rag now here to cover all existing battery terminals except the one I'm working on here on the back. So if I drop my wrench here on the bus bars, it doesn't cause any shorts, right? Okay, let's start with this one. And we also need a small Phillips bit screwdriver. Oh no, no. Huh. Damn it, I remember, this is actually an Allen key. A small Allen key. That is too large. Damn it! Oh. There's some big washers, which I probably reuse on the other bus bars. I think there is some crease or something underneath. Yeah, now they are clean. Amazing. And look at this stuff. Flat terminals. And this is actually a set screw. Yeah? Yeah, flat terminals. M6 thread. Set screw. Boom. Oh man. I have to clean all these terminals now from this crease. Andy, don't touch the aluminium terminals. And then we chuck the new copper bus bar on top of it. Balance cables all have 5 amp fuses soldered to the ring lock. See, we still have a bit of play here with the bus bar. Nice washer, flange nut. We don't need the washers actually, but I'll leave them on because they don't cause any harm and they give us a bit more contact area from the top. And at the far end we will torque all these connections with 4 Newton meters again as they were before. So first one done out of 13, because I need to leave this one in place here as well. This is one of the longer aluminium bus bars here. Connects these 2 rows together. Alright, I guess there will be a time lapse now. So all the connections have now been replaced with copper bus bars, except of these two here. Now we have to get the torque wrench ready. Sits on 4 Newton meters already, perfect. 10mm socket, and off we go. I have to be very careful here with these studs, because we are pulling out the thread very easily. So that's where the 4 Newton meters actually originated from, because they said you can use up to 6 Newton meters to pull on this thread, and yeah, we said 4 Newton meters is all it takes. So I always used only 4 Newton meters for all my battery and cell connections. We've got the battery ready. Immediately we put the cover back on to not expose any of these beautiful bus bars and terminals. And we plug the BMS back in, and the Peter board, which is now called IBMS. And once this one is running, we don't need to jump start the BMS anymore as we did in the past, right, with a plus 5 volt. There we go, it starts straight away as soon as all the balance cables are in, but only if the IBMS is connected, the module. And this one only collects data and transmits it via CAN to the other IBMSs and then back to the Victron system. But it is not in charge at the moment, so it doesn't control anything, it's just for monitoring purposes. And we put this temperature sensor back into the main circuit breaker here. Alright, we've got the circuit breaker still off. We want to measure the internal resistance. Oh, excuse the fan here. It got a bit hot here and the air conditioner is not working at the moment. Yeah, let's measure the internal resistance again. Here. What are we doing if we measure a higher internal resistance now? I haven't thought about this yet. Leave your comments down below. Positive, negative, and we measure 11.6 milliohms. This was actually, shit, come on, you can do better here. Now it's 11.5 milliohms. So the internal resistance has actually slightly increased now. Why is that? Well, we have to see, once current is going through this battery actually, what the voltage drop is on these batteries and BMS and everything. This was not the expected outcome of this upgrade. Alright, let me just check all the connections again. Hang on, I'll be right back. Yeah, I've checked all the connections again. They're all 4 Newton meters torqued. I don't know what's going on, why we have a slightly higher internal resistance now. It is warm. Alright, I've now increased the charge voltage to 55.2 volts again, and I could still see the middle shelf battery is lagging behind a bit. It is charging slower than all the other batteries. What I want to do is now turn off solar altogether and discharge the battery a little bit. Maybe put the vehicle charger on with 20 amps or something, full power discharging, and see what the actual numbers say here in the system. That is strange. And here we have a look at the BMS as well, and cannot really see any outlier cells. I mean, cell number 10 is the lowest here, but one of the cells need to be the lowest, right? 3.44 volts almost, and the others have 3.45 volts. Some of them have 3.47. But it's not like a massive imbalance, you know. It's like a 37 millivolt only, 40 millivolts. Okay, let's discharge the battery for a moment and see what we get. Alright, here, easiest way, disconnect all the solar Yeah, and this is exactly what we can see. Cell number 12 and cell number 13 here, which are very, very low in voltage. Everything else seems to be fine, but these two... Yeah, isn't that strange? Yeah, this one is really... I've touched these ones here. They are actually cold. They are metal cold. This one is a bit warm. Yeah, these three terminals here. All right, let's turn on one of the other batteries. Turn off this battery and loosen these connections here again and see what's going on. Damn it. Oh, not this shit again. Well, I've reseated number 12 and number 13, all four terminals. Discharging with 60 amps, 160 millivolt deviation there. That is not great. Something is going on here. So you can see 22 top, 16 middle and 20. Again, the middle shaft battery is the lowest. And we've got already 50 millivolt deviation. Alright, let's increase the load. I'm just using the car charger to control the load. 40 amps, 27, 37. Again, 100 millivolt deviation. 3.31, 3.32, 3.3 volts. So they are all at the same ballpark. 3.3 here at the minimum cell and 3.25 only here at the minimum. 3.28. 111 millivolt deviation. And let's have a look at the BMS here as well. You can see the deviation up here. And cell number 12 is the lowest, 3.19, I see 3.2. And I'm turning off the top battery and bottom battery now, and we're running the whole show only from the middle shelf battery. Is that possible from the current? Yes, it is. Okay, off. So we should see 0 here for these two batteries, and a maximum current here for this battery. 100 amps discharging, nice. It's a 200 amp BMS, but it's only a 100 amp circuit breaker. But look at this, 188 millivolt deviation, 3.1 volts. But we also have again like 100 millivolt deviation in this battery here at 82 amps. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this battery. I don't like it. But minimum cell is either on cell number 16 now or cell number 1. Well, I have to cut the heat shrink here and check on these terminals. I don't know what else to do. Everything else seems to be fine. They are getting a bit hand warm now. But this is expected. Well, there are actually some in between which are cold, like this one. This is metal cold. And this one is actually hot. Can barely touch it. Is there something going on with this connection here with the bus bar? It's just a bended bus bar. It's one of these bus bar we have bended 90 degrees. Hey, this seemed to be a very easy and straightforward project to replace all these bus bars. And now we are ending up in the total nightmare shit. Right, guys, I don't know what's going on here. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Cutting this heat shrink. We have a loose connection underneath here. Can't believe it. Can't be. This is definitely not loose. But the bus bar is warm. Come on here. Just retorquing it. Nah, bombenfest. Nah, that's not the problem. Okay, we are back on 80 amps here for the middle shaft battery. Deviation 57. It is back on cell number 12 now. This is the one where we have replaced the whole bus bar. Cell number 11. We're still at 56 millivolt deviation. Geez, why is it so difficult to build this battery here? Okay, let's put the same load on one of the other batteries here and see what deviation we get there. Okay, we're driving now the same load on the bottom shelf battery. 77 amps. 61 millivolt deviation at 4 kilowatt. Still quite high, I think. Okay, let's try the top one. 25 millivolt, that's fine. But the middle one, jeez. I really thought it is the aluminium bus bars which caused the issue, but it is definitely not. Yep, 25 millivolt deviation. Potentially put some more load on it. At 100 amps, at 5 kilowatt now, we are seeing 44 millivolt. Okay, middle shelf battery again. Hey, look at this, 70 millivolt deviation already. At 4.4, let's see if we get 5 kilowatt here as well. There we go, 5 kilowatt, 90 millivolt deviation. I think this is too high, right? It is too high. And it's cell number 16, that's the main positive. Let's re-talk the main positive as well. Alright, so I reseated the positive. Minimum cell voltage is now at cell number 9, which is good. It's not number 16 anymore. Well, actually, it's actually bad. Because I just loosened the nut and wiggled the bus bar a little bit on top of the terminal and then retightened it with 4 Newton meters. And now at 5 kilowatts, we are seeing here 45 millivolt, 58. So obviously there is a problem with these terminals, oxidation, some sort of shit going on underneath. 55 millivolt, 63 at 5.1 kilowatt. Well, at least it's jumping back and forward now. Cell number 14, before it was cell number 9, 10. Okay, I'm just lowering the current here a bit. I don't want to have another pump turning on or something and then the circuit breaker flips or the BMS turns off. Alright, leave this running here for a moment. Man, what's going on here? And these are the old style EVE LF280, not the K version. This is the version 1 of these cells, which have the flat terminal and an M6 hole in it, basically, where you put a set screw in and then tighten your bus bars on top of it. And there was always, I mean, if you remember battery 1.0, which is now in the there in the Sepplers Mason box, we had all kind of trouble, and I even polished the terminals and sanded them and tried different grease, and there was always a huge deviation across these cells. But here on the other hand, these LF304, they have the new terminal. These are version 2 EVE cells. They've got the welded studs already on top of the terminals. Much better connections, as we can see. And these ones here are raised as well. Alright, that's why we see an increase in deviation actually with this battery here. These terminals are just shit. So there was nothing wrong with the aluminium bus bars. It's a total freaking... Yeah, these ones are definitely welded. You can see the raised bus bars. And these ones are flat on the terminals here. So nothing wrong with Paul's aluminium bus bars. This is just how this cell version 1 performs, unfortunately. Well, we got it down now to 60, 40 millivolt or something. I guess this is probably all we can do at the moment. Yeah, it says actually on this battery here, EVE LF280K. Well, we've gone through this already. We've tested this already, right? I'll link this video down below. But if we put this bus bar on top of this welded terminal, we have only a very small contact area, right? Because this plateau here at the top has a very small area in comparison to the actual full terminal of this cell. But then when you torque it down with 4 Newton meters, you put a very, very high pressure on this smaller area, and the resistance is so low. Well, the resistance is so low that my battery number 3 here in the bottom shelf is actually the best here in the whole battery shelf. So this is a whole problem of the EVE LF280 with the flat terminal version 1 cells. Alright, I guess I learned something today. And you hopefully as well. As always, guys, thank you for your amazing support here on the channel. Welcome to all these new subscribers here and also the new channel members. And thank you so much for everyone who is buying me a spat here so I can calibrate more solar panels. 35 degrees, and you know what? Even the camera turned off because it got so hot. So I had to cool it down with this ice block here. Isn't that crazy? And quick update on the Polo version 3 BMS here in the top battery. Everything is good again. I was actually able to reflash it. I tried about 22, 23, 24 times, and the 25th time it actually worked. It started connecting again and I could reflash it with the newest 1.4 firmware version, so they're all the same again, and the BMS started working again just fine. Still, the BMS is not working great with this software version, but this is a totally different problem. Alright my friends, as always, thank you so much for sticking around with me on this hot summer day. I actually need to put some new heat shrink here on this terminal now to cover this screw. It looks like... Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for all your amazing support here. And until the next video when we do something different again, I think, hopefully. Until then, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye. Pulse aluminium bus bars. There's nothing wrong with you. So guys, before you go, just a very quick update on the situation here with this middle shelf battery. We're at 98% state of charge now, so almost fully charged. Voltage is already increasing, 54.5 volts, 0.6 I've seen just now. And the battery is charging here 28, 24, 7. So bottom battery with the lowest internal resistance has already fully charged, is absorbing, and the deviation now is fine. I have made a couple of screenshots this morning to show the behavior of the middle shelf battery now while we are charging with different currents. Here, at 16 amps, 16.7, 15.4, deviation 6 millivolt. Around 35 amps, can see 37, 35, 28. Again here 11 millivolt deviation to 50 millivolt in the top battery. Everything is fine. 50 to 60 amps, 59 in the top battery, 51 to 45. Deviation 25 millivolt. At around 70 amps, 68 in the top battery, 75 in the middle, and 64 in the bottom battery, 27 millivolt deviation, the same as the top battery. And here at around 90 amps, you can see 32 millivolt in the top battery, 28 in the middle, and 26 in the bottom battery. So it is actually in line with all the other batteries and the current as well. So it is not lagging behind anymore. And here at full power, 95 amps into the battery, we've got a 34 millivolt deviation only, 29 top shelf and 28 bottom shelf. And then here, once the battery was fully charged at 55.2 volts, we have also seen a deviation of under 10 millivolt, which I did not experience here for a very long time because deviation was always so high every single day that the balancer didn't have enough time to top balance this middle shelf battery within this half an hour of absorption time. But now I could actually see a very quick disappearance of this imbalance in this battery, and everything is fine. We are under 10 millivolt. The balancers have actually turned off here at 55.2 volts. We are 100% charged. Everything is good. So quickly again, the problem was not with the bus bars, it is the connection of these first generation EVE cells with the flat terminals, the aluminium terminals. The material is not great and it causes some sort of oxidation or some sort of layer in between the bus bars. And at the moment it is fixed, but it will come again. If you haven't seen the old videos from the battery 1.0 we have built in the plastic tub, have a look what kind of issues we had with the bus bars and connections, terminals, oxidation layers, and all kind of shit was happening. Exactly what we have experienced here as well. And I should have known from the beginning these flat terminals, they're causing this issue. Not the aluminium bus bars, not the copper bus bars, not how much torque you put on these threads. It is the aluminium terminals of these batteries. Alright folks, see you in the next one.